Welcome to our IndianaMat Gorilla Radio. We are live with episode number 64, if you're keeping track at home. We have Mr. Mike Reiser here. I think he's trying to get broadcast from a different location in his new house every time.
I'm just making our way around the island in the kitchen. Next week it'll be the fridge and the stove. Then you guys get the back porch. So
yeah,
it's a rotation.
I was gonna start putting like being in the middle of a snowstorm and stuff in the back, but I didn't have time because I was too busy tinkering with other things on for the website for the state finals week. Don't want to reveal it just yet, but we're gonna have some fun with some stuff on the social media during state finals, and I won't have to do a single thing other than sit here and smile. And we're represented by the Boonville. They are the Pioneers, I believe. That sounds right. Let's see if I'm right. Do you know it, Mike?
I have no clue.
If we had Chad here, Chad would know exactly, and he'd tell you what the nearest river is. Pioneers sound right. If I'm right, yes, I am right. I know my nicknames from many years of doing the preview magazine. So Mike, you're all snowed in. School's off for the rest of the week, and so now all you gotta do is sit and wait for regional brackets to come out.
Oh yeah, that's we've been waiting for this breakdown of these regionals. Definitely one of the toughest one to pair. Yeah, we got a lot of snow today. I know a lot of schools were off. I think the majority of the schools in the area were off, and then we have that polar vortex coming in. So my daughters were already called off of school until Thursday, and you were saying that Fremont was also called off school till Thursday. So
yeah, I just saw that on Twitter. I had to do a double take whether that was a fake account or whatever that was tweeting that. Like, what? All the way off till Thursday? So yeah, that's gonna be a kink in the regional action. I know we're already we're supposed to be really cold in the next couple days. So stay warm, stay healthy. Don't go out and leave your dogs outside or your wrestlers outside.
And I seen that there was like a hot button thing, right? People leaving their pets out.
Yeah. So as a public service announcement, not only do we talk wrestling, we want your dogs to be nice and healthy. And don't leave your gorillas outside. I won't leave any of my pet gorillas outside either. So yeah, but so you were at Crown Point region sectional.
Yeah, I was broadcasting from the Crown Point sectional. We just did the finals. Always a really good sectional, in my opinion. Obviously, they've had some success with. They've been running champs out there pretty well, and I think there was a lot of. Early on, it was pretty straightforward. I think in the semis there was one overtime match or one match that was really close. It was Park and Hollis. They're both semi-state ranked guys, and then the finals were good. They were kind of like quick, good match, quick, good match. I think most sectionals probably go that way. I don't know if you're getting as many, really tight sectional matchups unless you're getting some really high level guys. But these were pretty straightforward.
Yeah, there's not a lot of crazy upsets at sectional. Usually the top guys kind of do their job, and there's a few. I was looking through ours, and there weren't very many few big a one seed. I'm pretty positive all the one seeds except for all the one seeds probably made the finals. I'm fairly positive. 2 and 3s might switch up here and there, mainly because of seeding, and they don't see each other, or if they did see each other, they were. It was a 2 or 3 point match, so that's easily reversed, a month later. So I think just looking at ours and looking at the others, I didn't see any crazy upsets of, the top 2-3 guys, which is what you're looking at right now, unless there are some pretty tough sectionals. Some sectionals have some really tough kids, they have a weight class or two that has 2 or 3 ranked guys, and those are always pretty tough, but for the most part, it's 1 or 2 ranked guys at the very most, and they usually roll through until they see each other at the end.
Yeah, I think we had one upset, but it was 2 tough wrestlers. Obviously, I think we had Ewan Donovan from Hebron. He was undefeated. He ended up losing to Ethan Patowski. It was a really good match. I I think Crown Point posted it to their Facebook page, and I know that Region Sports has the broadcast. And I think they tagged us both on Twitter on it, right?
Yes.
So the ending, a couple of them. That guy does a really good job. I think those videos are really good.
Yeah, that's some good stuff. Yeah, and Patowski's not one he's no slouch. He wasn't in the rankings, correct? I assume.
Yeah, he's at like 19, I think. Yeah. He had the 2 losses at the Al Smith, but it's one of those things. I don't think he was wrestling to his ability. He had a broken leg in the regional championship game in football, and then I think Al Smith might have been one of his first matches back. Mm-hmm. So he took 2 losses there. There's only 2 losses in the season. He's been wrestling well. I know he's had some tight ones with Shea Akinwumi of Maryville. So it was a really good win for him. And I'm sure Donovan a rebound. I know he had been up at 220 a little bit and kind of went chasing weights. It was just stylistically, it really went Patowski's way. And obviously, he's been right. I think he's been to the semi-state twice already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's an upset, and I'm sure if Patowski would have been probably 5 to 10 spots higher if he'd wrestled the whole season, and now he's just probably literally getting his legs underneath him, getting in shape, getting some of the rest off, especially after an injury. If the Al Smith isn't a tournament you go to as your first tournament after an injury.
No. And two guys did that.
Yeah.
You had Atria did that also for Maryville. That was his first tournament.
Yeah.
I was just looking at some of the results. Like I'm one of my favorite posts every week. I like to look at the notable matches. 17 KT Nelson over 13. I'm trying to see any actual upsets. Cameron Chatterton unranked over LJ Burton. And Chatterton's been in the lineup a couple different spots for those guys. So with Reynolds out, that's a good spot for him. Probably more of his natural size.
Yeah, the Avon section was pretty tough. That one's the one that has a lot of notable guys there. So that's where you're going to see a few upsets. I mean, obviously a 17 over 13 is not a earth-shattering upset, and that's not. I mean, they'll both be battling out again this week.
I mean, outside of obviously I see those guys a lot, so I'm not as shocked by that. I think the Patowski one, the Sam Scott from Heritage over Devin Casebolt, I think that one was one that really caught my eye. I know Scott had the 1 loss on the season. I think he had a really good record last year, also semi-state guy. And Casebolt was in the semifinals. I mean, that's a huge win.
Yeah, that's a good one. There's going to be some good matches coming up. One thing I would like to address before we go too far, I know the hot button topic last week wasn't sectional wrestling, wasn't the release of the brackets.
It was one of them, though. That was one of them.
Yeah, that was one of them. But the Carmel sauna suit gate 2019, and I mean, it definitely lots of stuff being said on there, everyone should be fired, kids should be suspended, and things like that. I won't say what I think should happen because I'm not the one to rule on that. But I just know from the experience of what I always look at the IHSAA police blotter where they say the teams that got in trouble, and most of it's pretty I won't say minor, but it is minor stuff in terms of not something like that where it got teams are getting warned, and if it is something a little bit more major, kids do some things, they practice on Sunday or something like that. It's a little bit more of a severe warning, but very rarely does the IHSAA really go hard with the hammer on a first-time offense. Now, if something happens in the next year or two, it might be a little bit stiffer of a penalty, might be, suspension of coaches and such. So I don't think the IHSAA kind of lets the schools do the discipline, which is good because I'm sure Coach P is getting quite an earful from his AD that I know Carmel tries to run as clean of a program, or as clean as a athletic department as possible. They have a gazillion state titles in every sport but wrestling. So I think they want to, keep that clean nose, and especially because everyone's going to come after them, whether it's football, baseball, swimming, whatever. Everyone wants to take down Carmel. That's a big name around that area. So, basically, that's my thoughts, and we just want to address that. Any comments there, Mike?
Yeah, I think obviously there's a lot of anonymous people. I mean, we have a good idea of who a lot of people are because you have to use an email to sign in, and you get an idea. So it's easy to go on there and rant and rave and kind of take some shots, I guess. I'm more in the mentality of I'm going to wait and see how that plays out. I mean, obviously, I think Coach Vega hit it on the nose. Like a lot of people that were on there saying like all this negative thing or liking posts that were very negative were people that have got help from that. So I think you got to let that play out. I think more than anything, I think you have to see how that all plays out. You know, I mean, obviously, I think you have a pretty good idea. You're a little bit more in the know, and I think. Oh, I've heard some stuff, but I mean, when you hear things, it's tougher. Like I'm not gonna run and take that to the message board as gospel. So I think that's always a tough thing for me. I think that was something I learned early on doing this. Like until something's like for sure set in stone, you should probably wait to like pass a judgment.
Yeah.
So obviously he's always been good to us, and hopefully that all works out. It's just a tough situation. You gotta deal with it. And like you said, Carmel is one of those programs I think that sets a high standard. So we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, I just know just from our experience at Carroll that it's very similar to Carmel in this area that everyone wants to beat Carroll, and no matter what the sport is. But it's one of those things that even RAD sends out an email that they didn't file a transfer report. You know, one of those things that's in there. Every of those police blotters, there's about 5 of them at least. And it's just, you know, the transfer reports, when a kid transfers, you're supposed to file a report so you get everything done correctly. And I know that it was missed. One time it was missed, and he's like, you know, a lot of the ADs take that as an embarrassment to be put in that police blotter. So,
oh, yeah. I mean, that's their livelihood. That's what they do. They try to, you know, I'm sure every idea tell you that they want to run a clean program no matter what. Not that I feel like this is the most dirty offense, but obviously these things were put into place because things were happening, you know?
Yeah, no. So that's basically my rant and rave. I mean, people have their own opinions. I've seen what the IHSAA does, and even if it's there's been some basketball fights and stuff like that, and they've tried to lay the hammer down. I want to say it was Griffith and
Hammond High, man.
Hammond. There was a fist fight that broke out, and they banned the teams from the state tournament. And someone got some lawyers, and they ended up playing the state tournament. So that's kind of IHSAA is kind of in a tough spot, and they get a few lawyers involved, and they ended up just saying, okay, you guys are just, you know, they changed the penalties basically, but it was one of those things that they protested a little bit and got some lawyers involved, and then next thing you know, they're back in the state tournament. So I mean, that's type of thing, and that's a fist fight. That's something that looks really, really, really bad on a sport, on schools and everything. And they were suspended, and then all of a sudden they're back in the tournament. So maybe the IHSAA was too scared of all the lawyers that live in Noble or Carmel. That's a joke.
Yeah, I think the Griffith Hammond High thing, that was a pretty big melee. So yeah. And I agree 100%.
Yeah, no, that's one of those things that if you know, suspending their team like that would have been, or suspending kids. I think they did the right thing. You know, if something else comes up in the next couple years, the hammer will be laid down, and I just say doesn't mess around with that. I know there have been some. I pay attention a little bit, and you'll see that the teams that have done offenses like this, you know, similar, they don't mess up in the next couple years because they know it's going to be ugly. So, okay, so I know I've seen a couple things earlier this week. It looks like a couple kids are injured. Might not be, you know, state-ranked guys that are going to be possibly not wrestling. I just saw on Twitter that Braden Erb, 220 from Western is going to have knee surgery. Wrestled one sectional, and then was basically just going to help his team try to win sectional. And he's going to have surgery tomorrow, I believe. So that's one of those things that that sucks for him. He's only a sophomore, luckily. One of the tougher 220s in the state, and that's a big blow to to them. Hopefully, it gives them enough points to get to semi-state or to team state. They're defending champions, so very interesting one. There also Gavin Rose. It sounds like he suffered a pretty nasty injury. Didn't hear exactly. I don't know what it was. I don't know if you heard or anything.
No, it sounded pretty bad, but I think they're holding out hope that he's gonna be able to go.
Yeah. So, and he's a senior, and that's the toughest way. He's a returning state placer in 2017 qualifier as a freshman. So that I know he's a pretty tough wrestler, has a lot of good wins. So hopefully he can wrestle. If not, any colleges, especially small schools, be looking at him because he's going to be a diamond in the rough because he's one that has beaten a lot of top guys and would have been right in the mix for another state medal there.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that you never want to see anyone end their career like that on an injury. And I'm not saying he is, but even Herb, you don't want to see a season end on an injury. Those guys put a lot of work in, not only in the season, but overall. Like you're talking about, all the work you put in the off season. This is kind of what you're going for, and for something like freakish injuries are obviously always pretty freakish too. Take that away from you, you hate to see that.
Yeah, definitely. So hopefully those guys have speedy recoveries, and hopefully we get to see Rose wrestle this week. He's even if he's not 100%, I've seen some guys that I would say as seniors that I wouldn't have put them out unless if they were only a senior. So go out there and try it, give it them their all, and they're kind of beat, and it's just leaves you with a bad taste in your mouth. You knew that they should have been a little bit further in the state tournament and just couldn't do it. So regionals, any big regional matchups, any regional sites you're looking to kind of keep your eye on this week?
I mean, obviously, like and this isn't. I'm not trying to take away from some of the smaller regionals, but I'm going to be doing the Hobart Regional, which used to be the Calumet Regional, and I've always felt like there's a lot of good matchups there. Maryville put themselves in a great position to send 14 to the semi-state, which it's pretty ridiculous. They had 14 in the finals at East Chicago. Not one of the stronger sectionals, not to discredit what they're doing, but I know Gavitt's over there. I know they're in contention for 2A, but so that's where I'll be. And then obviously the Crown Point, you have Chesterton coming in. That feeds in there, the LaPorte. And then I seen that someone put on there Jordy Folks and Matt Lee. That'll be a good one. Obviously Hayden Watson and Benny Dalton wrestled this weekend, and Hayden Watson got him. So the rematch of that will be pretty good. Plus adding in KT Nelson and
Cameron Allen.
I can't think of his name. Cameron Allen, yeah.
Yeah,
so I mean, obviously that's always a good regional.
Yeah, that regional's always brutal, and there's always a couple guys that are state ranked that get left at home at Mooresville. They just travel a couple hours south. They could probably find a regional they could qualify out of. That's that area is pretty good. You have the west side of Indy, then the south side of Indy, all merging together, and that's two of the toughest areas in the state right there, banging heads, and a lot of good kids are going home early. And very rarely do you see any fluff get through that regional. So that's going to be a good one.
I mean, I think when we talk about that all the time, there's always, at the semi-state level, there's always teams that have, kind of a leaner regional, I would say. I don't want to say like a weak regional, but a regional that's not as tough as, some of the other ones. And those guys are going to be, those fours. That's where you see a lot of the fours over the ones at East Chicago. You see that a lot with the Lafayette area. They come in, and then, you're so tired up here, and you get a lot of that. It's very difficult to see a lot of the Logansport guys make it through. So I think they get about 6 a year. So
yeah, and this year might be a little bit leaner year. Harrison and all their better teams are a little bit down. I think actually Attica is going to probably be one of the better teams, individually. They have a few pretty good kids there. I mean, I know Peru's the one that's usually the one in Fort Wayne. Obviously Richmond in Newcastle's that one that everyone if you're not in that regional, you want to draw that regional as number one usually. But I think Richmond might be a little bit better with their ones this year than usual. But their 2s and 3s might not be as good. You definitely don't want to draw into like Tucker Kaufman or Allred or a host of other guys like that. But
that speaks to the depth of that semi-state, honestly.
Yeah.
Where and I don't want to dog the local sport regional. We don't have a Silas Allred coming out of there. We don't have Tucker Kaufman, who's a state semifinalist. So it's.
You there?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Now, the South is interesting because usually Jeffersonville's kind of that one. Danny Bell's here. Sorry. Usually, but there you have a Columbus East who's gonna come in. They had a real good tournament, and so that they're gonna. Those aren't ones you want to wrestle. You don't want to see a Rooks or Schnaggy or any of those guys. So that might be the weaker one, the 2s and 3s, but the ones you definitely do not want to see out of Jeffersonville. So it'll be interesting to see which regional is kind of that weaker one, and it might be the Bloomington South one, but I'd hate to say that one's weaker because you have Bloomington South who has some good kids, you have Edgewood has some good kids, Floyd Central, all those teams. All pretty solid, well-coached teams. Those ones are not going to be pushovers, and they have some good coaching down there, so they'll have their kids ready in that ticket round.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think this speaks to the depth of the state. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So obviously, without the regional bracket in front of me, there's tons, and then I'm sure there's a bunch of semifinal matches that are always really good also, so it's not just the finals matches I look forward to. So
yeah,
regional a little bit shorter day. Obviously that first round it's winner go home, which is always kind of sucky.
Yes, definitely. If we could only get Russell backs there after that first round. I think that with the four qualifiers meeting up, I think there's a little less room for errors, but there's still some 2s and 3s that could qualify if they have a second chance there. The 1 versus 4s are usually pretty cut and dry for the most part at the sectional level. It's one of those things that it add an hour and a half to the day, and it's already a pretty short day. So I definitely would love to see a little truer wrestlebacks and guys get to semi-state that deserve to be there, and there's not just an upset, freak injury, freak pin or freak, guy get thrown to his back, give him a second chance, just like they do in track and stuff. You lose to one person, you're not eliminated. You have to be eliminated by a bunch of people. So. Right,
and I think your post Saturday about going from 3,500 wrestlers to 1764.
1792, I believe. So obviously that's not
entirely accurate with forfeits and everything like that.
Yeah.
How about I seen someone had posted it on the board, and I went and looked at Laporte. Weirdly, 113 was a really lean weight this year.
Yeah.
In the region at least. I know the DAC only had 5 wrestlers at the 113. Those are the biggest schools in Northwest Indiana. And then the Laporte sectional, I think they only had 2 kids at 113. Jeez. So,
that's
Nick Totini and Giovanni Diaz are already semi-state qualifiers. So congratulations to those guys.
Well, they gotta once they make weight, they're semi-state qualifiers. But yes, yeah, I know. I know the New Haven sectional had 5, I believe. 5 at 113. Yeah, 13's that's an interesting weight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They had 6. Sorry, they had 6. I thought they had a. When I was doing my predictions, I thought I only counted 4 to start, and there's only 6. There were 6 guys that end up wrestling. That's pretty tough.
And I think that that's a loaded weight too. I thought that was one of those weights that was kind of weird because you had some guys that had wrestled some 6 or had talked about wrestling some 6 going up to 13, which is like Giovanni Diaz and Colin Regan from Frontier, Benny Dalton. So definitely an interesting mix over there at 113. Definitely a really good weight.
Yeah, definitely. That should be interesting. Over here, the Goshen Regional is one that we like to is pretty solid. You have Elkhart, the Elkhart Sectional, and then meets up with the Westview Sectional, and you have Prairie Heights and East Noble has some good kids. I think 138 is going to be an interesting weight where you have let me go look at this so I don't miss anybody. You have Connor Gimson, who's ranked number 3. You have Tanner Sheff, he's ranked 6th. Nick Buchanan 7th. Those are all 3 there. Buchanan's gotten the best of Sheff the past 2 times. They've wrestled there at conference and regional, and then so Sheff and Gimson will wrestle in the semifinals there. That should be a good one. Let me go look and see. Go check out the rankings. How good how Caleb did, but yeah, 138 right there. That's gonna be pretty tough there.
Tough for all the other guys coming out over there, right?
Yeah, I mean
you're talking three hammers coming out of one regional.
Yeah, 3 guys with some state experience. Buchanan, obviously from Michigan, but that should be very interesting right there.
Michigan.
That should be very, very interesting. And I know we have a pretty good 38-pounder, so you're hoping for that one draw, you get that 4th placer out of that regional, and there's only one good draw, no matter talking with a parent like, well, you got to win it, and like, no, you don't. You can get 2nd or 3rd, and as long as you get that 4 is in your quarter bracket, you're good. But you're not technically good, because if you don't, I mean, the other champions, you're looking at Dylan Gowdy, who's wrestling really well, state qualifier last year.
Right.
So
is he still undefeated also?
Yeah, I think he won sectional. Yeah, William Fichter is pretty tough. I know he's takes some losses during the year, but he always wrestles well at the state tournament. Those 2, and then you have Schrock possibly out of Carroll, even though he lost this weekend. So yeah, there's some very good kids that those regional champs are gonna be praying for that draw. Unfortunately, that's what you have to do here.
Yeah, and I think, and I was talking with Coach Hawkins about it this weekend. It really doesn't matter outside of if you're the champ. Like if you're the champ of your regional, you put yourself in the only position where you really have control. I mean, outside of those guys drawing into you, but you're still a champ. Like 2 or 3 it's the luck of the draw. It's however you get drawn.
Yeah. 32 out of Goshen has Gimson, Schuler, and Ledesma right there. So that's another 3 that are, going to be someone's bad draw. A couple people aren't going to be getting good draws. And then you throw in Cottingham, Logan Mosser, other regional champs, and Owen Kreider might be a regional champ out of that one. So that's some big guns. And then you have lurking there with about 86 losses. Kyle Lawson, returning state qualifier. He's taken some losses, some pretty good losses, if you look at who he's lost to. But he's one. You never underestimate a Belmont kid in the ticket round, even if he has 15 losses, because they'll come to wrestle, and that's the only match that matters during the season.
To Buchanan, we didn't. I didn't see the result before that, but we locked the rankings before the sectional. So anything here? Congratulations. Sorry, man.
Yes, yeah. The rankings are locked. Just as a polite reminder that we let them ride and see how good the guys do. Obviously, there's going to be some upsets, some guys that beat some guys that they lost to earlier in the season, and that's the way the ball rolls. And we'll see how well Mike does. See if he finally does officially get over the 80% mark, which I have a feeling he will.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, these injuries are not helping me.
Yes. Don't get injured, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
We don't want to
be as healthy as you can be. No, obviously those are all kind of results-based things, and like I said, I didn't see that result, so it wasn't. I comb the results the best I can. I mean, obviously we do the track thing and we do the site, but
Yeah.
It's definitely difficult. We have a ton of results, so I appreciate everyone turning those in. I'm not complaining about that.
Yeah, no, that was the NECC was not on track. It was on thewrestlingtourney.com. 2 tournaments a year ran on that.
I don't follow thewrestlingtourney.com. Actually, this is the first I've ever heard of it, Joe.
So yes, yeah, the other regionals down south, I think the Evansville, it's Evansville North. Yeah, North. That should be a pretty good one. You got Mater Dei. Mater Dei looked really good. They qualified all 14. They're pretty tough. They're going to meet up with Castle and Boonville. They're here on the...
Kind of a tough day for Castle this past weekend, right?
Yeah, they lost their, was it 113? Hayhurst?
Yeah, Hayhurst didn't make weight.
Yeah.
And then, Boonville came to wrestle. That's good for those guys, especially going forward with the way we qualify for IHSAA.
Yeah, definitely.
It'd be good to some noise.
Good to see some new blood in there. I know Phil was pretty high on some Boonville kids, and I guess he might have been a little bit right there. They wrestle. I mean, that's a pretty solid sectional. You got Heritage Hills, Reitz. You got some teams with a lot of good, history and stuff there, and they finished second. They're 10.5 points away. That's a few pins here and there.
What'd they say for Mater Dei? They said how many sectionals in a row was that?
A lot.
A lot.
Like 40-some, 50-some, I don't know.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's a lot. Most consecutive, 43 now.
Yeah,
that's what their total is.
Those guys do a good job, obviously, but man, that is a lot of sectionals in a row.
Yeah, and that's not one down year. That's you can't have one, team kind of just a couple teams have some good years. I know they had some challenges. A few, about 10 years ago, they kind of were what would be a Mater Dei slump, only getting 6th to state, not, what they would call a slump, and they're still running sectionals, and that's pretty tough to keep that going, and especially a smaller school and stuff. So that's pretty impressive. Last time they lost, some of the parents weren't even alive.
Oh yeah, I bet.
I wasn't alive. Mike, you weren't alive.
I was not alive.
So, yeah, that should be one of the good ones. Obviously, we talked about the Mooresville with Mooresville and Avon meeting up. You got Brownsburg, Avon guys. You got Center Grove. A lot of good teams there. You got Franklin won by half a point at the Mooresville sectional.
See that? That's awesome, right? And I know that we kind of talked about that early on, about those guys having kind of a down year. That's awesome. They won by half a point. It was like 125 to 124.5, right?
Yeah, that's. I know we won a conference tournament by half a point one time, and that was pretty nerve wracking. And if I was looking through looking through those results, I'm like, okay, how did it come down at the end? And I was looking through it. Center Grove, they won third. Both teams had guys in for third and one for fifth. Center Grove kid won by decision 1-0, and the Franklin kid pinned his guy. So that was one of the last matches that kind of determined it. So both teams are on the edge of their seat. Center Grove's hoping to at least squeak out a win. Get some extra points, and they Franklin gets a pin there that solidifies it. And that was after,
did they say Riley rest?
What?
They said Riley rested in wrestle, or?
No, he did not. They had someone else in for him at 132, so we don't know if he lost a wrestle off or hurt or what. But yeah, that was probably a little bit of a letdown for them. That obviously would have been a couple more points. Their guy, he did not. He only scored 9 points, finished 5th. So that would probably be you think Russ would probably maybe finish just a little bit high enough that he would get a couple more points, maybe a pin there, here or there. So, yeah, that's a huge one.
I think that's a program that I think is going to be doing pretty well going forward. I have a strong belief that Coach Swain's a really good coach, and I think that if you give him the talent around him, I think it's only going to improve. And I think they had a good showing at Middle School State also.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. They hosted it. Sounds like Middle School State went really well this week. It wasn't going until midnight, which is, I'm sure, a few parents were more than elated. They wrestled on full mats. Congrats to them. Center Grove, IHSAA kind of moving that and taking. It sounds like the numbers were pretty good and everything. So hopefully, continue for a little bit of improvements here and there with that. Middle School State, I know it's really well attended and very prestigious for those guys to get that to win Middle School State. So I don't know if I looked over a little bit of the results. I didn't really scrub them that hard because I've been kind of busy. But did you see anything? Did you look over the middle school results or?
I did. I thought the 150. I mean, obviously, I get to hear a lot about the kids locally and how good they are. The 110 weight, I know Sergio Lemley, Diego Lemley's brother, was there. He won a pretty good weight with Sam Goyne and Cole Salome. So those are going to be three guys that are probably going to be right in the mix next year in the Crown Point Regional, I'm sure. And then 150 was pretty weight deep. It had Duke Myers there. It had Orlando Cruz. So we always try to keep, we always look at that and kind of see going in how those guys do and how they compete against those guys. Because a lot of those guys are going to be wrestling this first year. Coach Watkins, I was an 8th grader when Evansville Mater Dei started the street. Did Coach Watkins ever send you the dual meet win so we can get it on there? I know they got 600 for sure. I've seen
he
a
has
post
not yet. Coach Watkins, send me all your results, years and wins and losses and ties. Because back in the day they used to have ties also.
Yeah, I know that they just crossed the 600 barrier. Because I seen that he had posted when Perry had did it for Rex. But we definitely, going into next year, the middle school state is one of the things we really look at and add in. And I know, and Danny Bell's right on that. A lot of those guys, they're talking about going to Crown Point, and I think that where they're going to fill in. So, but I also think that there's going to be a point where, and I said this about Avon at one point, and not to get killed on here because that's what happens. But there was a point where like a lot of the Avon guys were kind of bunching up weight wise. And it's kind of looking a little bit like that at Crown Point early on. As I'm looking, some of the guys, you got to project a little bit of growth. They might grow into some of those weights too. I think it's going to be Crown Point's going to be really good, but it's going to be one of those things to see how it kind of shakes out. I think Hobart's going to be really good. If Danny Bell's on here, he's a Hobart. He's following Hobart. I think Hobart has some really good young guys also.
Yeah, no, the region's going to be. I mean, for what you have said for the past couple of years, it's been a little bit down. Going to be starting to, get couple good classes of kids that they're going to be back for, like we said, Mater Dei down, region down. The expectations are pretty high, so I think they'll be back pretty quickly here. A lot of young guys coming out of that area, and they're all training together and making each other better. So that's one thing to look forward to in the real near future.
Yeah, and I mean, and that was like part of, I know we talk about it every year because you like to tell me how Fort Wayne does, and I always, obviously I'm going to represent East Chicago all the time. But having some programs like Mishawaka was down for a couple of years, and like this is the first time I can remember that Mishawaka, I mean, outside of LaPlace placing as a freshman, hasn't had a returning state placer for a while at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
And getting those programs back up. I know Coach Sandifer's doing a good job, and obviously Coach Harper does a good job, but just, raising the level of competition is going to make that better, and I think that was one of the things for when it was Maryville was really strong over the time.
Yeah. No, there should be a lot of young guys. I know this freshman class is pretty solid, top to bottom, and, that'll be, something to watch. If you go scrub those results and earmark those guys, and you'll see them at the state finals here, if not next year, next couple of years.
Yeah, and I think that.
Go ahead. What were you saying, Mike? Hello? Can you hear me? Uh-oh.
Yeah. People are in those situations that are at those meets, and you can ask, I know that I was talking to Eric McGill, and he said the Brownsburg bigger guy, that he thinks that's the next Mason Paris. What is his name? Leighton
Jones, I believe.
got Leighton Jones. He said he thinks that's the next Mason Paris, and obviously those are big shoes. Mason Paris is ridiculous. Got a huge win over Ohio State.
Yeah, had some good college results this week. Came down to first off, Micic majored Pletcher, and that was ugly. If anyone watched that on the Big Ten Network, that was just brutally ugly. That was then came down to Paris. Paris wrestled Chase Singletary, who gave him one of his first college loss, I believe, and came out wrestled a pretty smart and solid match. Didn't put himself in any danger. End up winning pretty convincingly. Showed that he made some adjustments and improved a lot there. That was pretty good. And then Indiana got, if you're around Purdue or IU, got to see Penn State wrestle. Penn State's pretty good, and I think IU and Purdue wrestled well against them. They won some matches. They battled, didn't back down. They didn't, they were outgunned, but they didn't show it. They wrestled well as well. I watched both of them on the computer, and I can tell you one broadcast was way better than the other with the announcers. And if you check social media, last night's broadcast was not very good with IU. Their guys didn't know much about wrestling. Something about a headset got undone, and they really were concerned about the player safety there when their headset came undone. So it was, amongst other things, the cradle that was called a half Nelson. And no, we do not know when Davison will be in the lineup. I know he just kind of got back a couple weeks, about a month ago. Wrestled at an open. Actually, wrestled his brother, and Andrew actually got beat by Lucas. So little brother has a little bit of bragging rights in the house for a while. So don't know if Davison's going to be in the lineup this year or what's going on there.
He had lost a wrestle-off early, right?
I believe so, and then I think his first real action was just about a month ago. So so I don't know if he got re-injured or why he didn't hit any of the earlier opens and stuff like that. So I know he had a pretty big injury last year, about late December. So I don't know exactly how long that took him to get back. He heard his brother beat him up or something with a steel rod. I don't know. So. Yeah, Luke, you should have gone and commentated and told him what a cradle versus a half Nelson was. I was watching the Twitter, and it was brutal, and I felt embarrassed for Indiana.
Penn State coming in there, obviously those guys are up and down. Their lineup is ridiculous. The way they recruit is pretty good. They have a lot of good guys, and even with the new transfer rules, there's a lot of really good guys behind those really good guys that are going to be coming through. So. Yeah.
So. Anyway, any other fun things we want to discuss? It's kind of hard without the brackets. Next week, we'll try to do it after the brackets are gone. I might do 2 episodes possibly if we have time, because we usually try to split it up. And try not to have. We might have a couple guests. I don't know. We'll have to talk about that later. Figure out.
I know. Now that we allow guests on here, people keep asking when they're going to get their shot.
Yeah. So you got to keep it. If you keep it with less amount of people, less people saying the same thing over and over. Might be able to bring Chad out of the woodwork. I know he's hiding somewhere in Culver. Dingo's in his remote location. He's in the witness protection program. So maybe we'll even bring Nick on. Nick's been MIA. I know there's been an APB out for him. So if you do see him, please take a picture, post it on social media, so we do know he is alive. We get texts from what at least we believe is his phone, but we're not sure if it was actually him.
I know. He went to the Midlands, went right through our neck of the wood, didn't stop and say hi. I was out in South Bend. I didn't stop by and see Ann.
Yeah, no, that's so if you do see Nick, please tell him that we make sure that he's alive. Give him some cat food for his cats, and hopefully if you know a female that might be in a single, set him up. He'd appreciate that. He'd probably give you some IndianaMat gear. So
All extra mediums, though.
all extra mediums, yes. So yeah, he has some extra stuff there. So did you see the genius rankings came out? That was kind of fun getting those done. Did you take a look at those, the top teams and such?
I seen the potential one. I don't know if I seen the actual one.
Well, that is the one. That is like the potential. I was gonna pull that up. I always like to look at them. I look at it mainly for Carol's sake, and just where they slot us, and also where the strength of schedule. It's always fun to look at, see where those teams. See who wrestles the better schedules. I know looking through the top 10, Carmel and Roncalli both have a pretty high strength of schedules. I know Roncalli has a 51, and that is I'll give you guys before McClure goes crazy on me. That's a lot of, because when you go to tournaments, it's kind of calculated as each team there is a duel. So they basically had 31 matches, duels, and they're not counted fully, like as in a full duel, but they're kind of like a half or 3/4, or not like 60%. I'd have to look exactly, because I did the calculation a while ago. But so they have quite a few duels against teams at the Connorsville, which we never got the brackets for. So that's why their strength schedule is so low, even though you take that out of there, and they probably have a top 15 strength of schedule because they wrestle a really good schedule.
Yeah.
Brownsburg had the toughest schedule. Avon next, mainly because they wrestle each other like 16 times a year. So
see Brandon Rook posting on here. That's the cameraman for Region Sports.
Yes, he is. We got all sorts of fans here tonight. Everyone's all snowed in. We might have to do one every night. Everyone's all snowed in. They're bored. They'll listen to us talk about anything. Yeah. So yeah, check those out. It's pretty. It's kind of like the Sagarin writings that they do for football and basketball, based on everyone wrestling. Doing the linking of who your opponents are, who your opponents are, who their opponents are, that stuff. Look under the potential, the genius potential, and then download the spreadsheet there that's attached. And they have a SOS is not something someone needing help. It's strength of schedule. So yeah, so check that out. Amazing. And the
whole formula of that is amazing, honestly. The way that they put all that together is pretty great.
Yeah, Malign does that, and we have to go back. I was slacking on it a little bit, getting him all the data, and got it to him, and it only took a couple iterations of having a few sets of bad data that he'd run a little bit. It's like, oh crap, you have a team that was named differently, and then threw everything off, so he had to change that in one of them. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff done. Hopefully we'll get them out a little bit sooner next year. Oh, we gave love to the South. You missed it. We're talking about Evansville. We're talking about Mooresville, or Envilles. So
no, the South is great. I think, like I said, I think we said it last week with the rankings. As we're going through it, I'm like, man, I must really like Evansville.
Yeah. Yes. And also another one that I kind of pulled up, I put together late Friday night, is the power poll for the semi-states. One I'm more curious at, how Fort Wayne's shaking out, because it's kind of interesting. And basically the power poll is you're given points based on the rankings, semi-state rankings. We do it for the state rankings. Did it for the semi-states, and Evansville has Modern Day with a huge lead over Avon and Brownsburg. And then Columbus East coming in fourth there. So that's going to be very interesting. I'm going to say it's probably I'm going to say it's going to be a lot closer than that. But Modern Day does come in with a lot of guys, so they could, yeah, anyone want to help with the South, send information to our rankings guy, Mr. Phil. He does a good job in his first year, so he's trying to get some feelers out there. But yeah, I'm looking at the Evansville semi-state. That's going to be very interesting. I guarantee it's a lot closer than what the power poll says. East Chicago, Crown Point that one's going to be real close. Crown Point, Portage, Maryville, and then Culver Academies and Penn are right up there, pretty close. So that should be interesting. Culver.
Yeah, even on that, I would be willing to bet Wawasee is going to be in the mix too. I mean, obviously they have a lot of guys that are really good.
Yeah, you have Culver, Penn, Mishawaka, and Wawasee all out of the same regional. So they're gonna beat up. What's gonna hurt them is they're gonna beat up each other there. Lose a couple guys that might be able to sneak into the ticket round. That's going to hurt them a little bit to get a few points in there here and there, where they might not have state level kids, but they're kids that are ticket round level. They can win that first match, get some bonus points, and that's going to hurt those teams. When you have a Crown Point or Portage or Maryville, like you said, set up to get 12, 14 guys of regional to semi-state. So that'll be interesting. Newcastle.
Thank you. Yes.
Newcastle is Cathedral, Warren Central, Perry, Roncalli, Carmel. Those are all pretty much, Cathedral is a little bit more of the favorite. They do have the proven horses, but they're going to have a good sectional regional. They're going to run into the Warren Central, Perry, and Roncalli. Those three all come out of the same regional. So the Cathedral's 1s and 2s might be running into those guys, and that's going to be tough for them there. So that should be interesting. And then I'm always curious about Fort Wayne. That's one of the reasons I did it. I won't lie. And that one's the top 10 teams are separated by 25 points, which is crazy. The top 4 teams are separated by 11. So that's Central Noble, Jimtown, Huntington North, Western, Prairie Heights, and Yorktown. Actually, top 6 teams are separated by, so that's going to be interesting to see how things shake out there, see if the rankings hold up there. Usually the rankings of semi-states are pretty accurate, so we'll see how semi-states all stack up there. So any comments on the power polls? And then we can do the state one, which that's...
Yeah, I think those are always really interesting, obviously. Just based on rankings, and like we said, unless you're the champ and setting yourself up pretty good, those 2 and 3 draws can, you could draw a really good tough kid. That's gonna happen every year. You're gonna have those death draws where you're gonna look at it and be like, wow, that kid could probably get out in that bracket and that bracket, but he lost in the regional and he's not getting past this kid.
Yeah.
So definitely one of those things that you look at and you're just kind of always shocked. So the semi-state, those guys do a good job. So I'd be willing to bet they're close.
Yeah. State-wise, Mater Dei with the 11-point lead over Cathedral. That's going to be interesting. They're going to have a lot of hammers down low, and then Cathedral has hammers pretty much from 13 through 70. So that's going to be interesting to see how they do there. And then you got Cathedral, Columbus East, who's projected 4th in their region, in their semi-state is projected 3rd based on rankings in the state rankings. So it's always kind of interesting to see how things, they have some very top level guys that they could have. They have a couple guys that are state champs, a lot of guys with some semi-state or semis experience. So that'll be interesting. They definitely have the horses to put a kink in the state title run. So any other comments, any other things that we need to go over, any hot topics other than...
I guess we're not giving enough love to the South, it sounds like.
I know.
And we're sleeping on, even though there's a bunch of guys from Castle ranked, I guess we're sleeping on all those guys too.
We like the Welches. I mean, we know Luke Welch is probably the best Welch brother ever to step on the mat. I know that for a fact. That's a proven fact.
Is that Jay Purdy John Purdy that just won middle school state at 150? That kid's to be a real deal.
Yeah, he had a real good. Duke Myers. I've kept an eye on. Obviously, he's from Belmont. He won Super 32. And that's a tough weight when he finishes 5th. And Purdy, I was like, so who won that?
That was a good weight. That was one of the ones we kind of highlighted earlier. I know Cody Goodwin was one of the guys on the flow, top incoming guy. So was Orlando Cruz. So was Duke Myers, and John Purdy won that. So I wonder if that's also related to Jay Purdy, and if it is, congratulations. Yes. Even though you're killing us on the South here.
Yeah, we love the South. We love the South. The South is great. Yeah. So you're going to be at, you said, Hobart,
I'll be at Hobart doing the live coverage of Region Sports. I think, obviously I'm doing it, so I always say it's really, really a good time. But when you guys can go back and watch all those, and I always think it's pretty cool because, like, you don't always get to see all the guys around the state. I like to watch the Jay County one or the Jay County regional one. They always have really good matches in there. I'll go back and watch that. Is that the one that they broadcast, right?
Yep. Yeah. The Byrne Tri-Witness. The pride of Byrne. They always do a good job. They did sectional last week, and they always have good guys that know some wrestling. They do not call headgear headsets. They do know a cradle versus a half Nelson. Minor things. I might
slip a headset in there this weekend, just to see who's watching both. But yeah, we get to go out there, and they're gonna do the coverage of Hobart and Crown Point. But I'm flip flopping this week. Coach Morgan used to be the coach at Lake Central. He was watching some of the Lake Central guys, so I'm gonna head out to Hobart and get to see my former team, the Calumet Warriors, and see Maryville, Portage, Hobart, which is gonna be Gavitt. I think has a lot of good kids. So, like I said, Maryville put themselves in a really good position to get 14 kids through. With they had 14 in the final, so I don't know if anyone had more than that. I'm sure they didn't, right?
Yeah. No, that say that again. I was reading comments then laughing.
I know. What's this big creepy statue in the Jay County Regional Gym?
Oh, there's a big patriot. Like, he's scary. I think he comes alive at night. Any of those movies like Night in the Museum or whatever, when the statues and stuff come alive, that one comes alive. I would not. That's one place I would not stay the night.
We're gonna have to get someone to tweet a picture of that. I need to see this.
Okay, Jay County people.
Yeah. Now, overall, obviously the live coverage I think is really cool. I wish more regionals did that. I think that it's such a tight knit community. Like to see that, but I know some people don't feel that way with they like to do the you don't want to use it for recruiting or not recruiting, but
scouting.
Scouting, but I think you got a pretty good idea. You got to go out there and wrestle your match.
Yeah. You can get video anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah.
Very rarely, if you're a coach that's been around a little bit, you can get that. I have like 2 or 3 people I go to for film, and they, I can get pretty much anything I need or want within a couple hours of just talking to a couple people. Just, everyone is connected pretty. I mean, there's really 1 or 2 degrees of separation, and you can find good guys. You can find the film on the guys you need to see. So anyone that says that, I just laugh, because we have film on all our guys. We see a lot of different teams. There's teams that I talk to that, like, I know who I can go to. Hey, I need film on this team. I know 2 or 3 guys I can go to, and half-hour films in my lap. Well, actually online, but yeah.
Yeah.
So
and sometimes that could be counterproductive too. It kind of takes you off of what you're doing. You don't want to focus so much on what they're doing to take away what you're doing. So I think it's cool. We're doing those broadcasts. We get a lot of people from all over that like, from Texas, see my nephew wrestle or something. I always think those are pretty awesome.
Yeah, definitely. And it's good for the sport. They don't not broadcast a basketball game or something. The NBA's broadcast. Oh my goodness, they're scouting the Bulls. No, yeah.
Don't scout the Bulls. They're terrible. Scout them for maybe 2 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll try to slip a wrestling player in there.
Yes.
No,
yes.
Those guys do a good job. They say that they tell me all the time that wrestling kills basketball. It's on their top 10. It's 9 of their top 10 slots. One is I guess Lowell and Fort Wayne Dwinger, and football was their 1, and then wrestling's all the other ones. And I just think it goes to the community and how involved everybody is, and people tune in to watch them. I'm always surprised by the amount of views.
Yeah, there's a lot of views on even hearing us blabble about wrestling. So not even watching anything. They get to see my background. I'm gonna have to change it every day. I got Brayton Lee right there. Mason Paris is right there.
Ja'Cory Teamer.
Yeah, Ja'Cory Teamer.
Izzy Martinez.
Yeah, Izzy Martinez. Yeah. So that's No, but yeah.
Is that an Eric McGill side head?
Yep, you got Jim Russell right there. I'm gonna have to change it after the snow though. See if we're all snowed in and stuff. So yeah, it's good to see. The wrestling community is small, but it's tight, and people do like to watch. Boys volleyball is not going to kill wrestling. No, not around here. I've heard around Indy it's kind of crazy, from what I've heard and I've seen.
We're gonna have to get some broadcast going.
Yeah, so I don't know much about volleyball other than if it's in or not. So, any other words of wisdom or comments before we go? Next week we're gonna have to wait till after the brackets are out because it'll be kind of boring without talking about brackets.
Oh yeah, that's the one, man. That's like the Christmas morning one for me. When obviously the state finals brackets are good, but this is the one where I think it's the most unpredictable. This and the semi and the state quarterfinals I think are the two most unpredictable times when you're going from ticket round matches where anything can happen. Throw rankings out the window, throw all that out the window. It doesn't matter. You see top guys go down. You see guys that you're like, there's no way that guy's gonna win, go through. And then the state quarterfinals. Friday night's good, but I think the state quarterfinals right off the scale. Saturday morning, those are the two best rounds in Indiana wrestling for me.
Yeah, no, that's always a, who got a good night's sleep and wasn't cutting weight all night, and that ticket round is just brutal. You scrub those brackets you're looking for those matches that are just jaw droppers, and Fort Wayne always has 7 of them, where all the state qualifiers from state placers all meet each other in the ticket round. That's a IHSAA thing. I think they just put the brackets together based on how they can figure out to get those state placers from Fort Wayne to hit in the ticket round.
Yeah,
I think that's why it takes so long.
Alexander, Kellen Pointer last year in the ticket round, and all of those. I would love to. I'd love to say you can get my actual reaction as I'm scrolling through there, but there's no way I'm gonna wait to watch to get those.
Yes.
You can get live reaction on this.
Yeah, no, it's that's going to be interesting. Well, maybe when they do come out, we'll just go live right away.
Yeah, you can get because there's always a couple where I'll just be like, wow, obviously that's a flaw in our system, but it also makes it really exciting that you have this single elimination match to determine a lot of people's careers.
Yeah, no,
their high school careers. Obviously, you have the opportunity to move on, but it's man, that's the one. It's wow, I can't believe this guy and this guy. These two medalists are gonna, meet here because this guy had a medalist in his. That could be. You could have a possibility in East Chicago just one. You have Jacob Moran, Martin Cruz, who's had a really successful year, had bad luck in the ticket round, and let's say Martin Cruz loses, or even Jacob Moran loses. Turn around and you can go get Giovanni Diaz, who beat Moran there last year. And lost to Diaz or Cruz at the Lake County tournament. So matches like that, you're like, man, you wish it could just play out evenly, but that also takes away from the excitement.
Yeah, I just know at semi-state that you can almost feel that ticket round, that electricity, that the nerves. Everyone's nervous for that round. The coaches are, I gotta get a kid to state, and then the wrestlers, obviously their season's coming down to one match. That's what their season is. And then after that, it's amazing. Just the air just feels so. We lost our widget. So different. Did we lose? No, we didn't. I don't know why that didn't. We lost that. Anyway, it just feels so different there. So at semi-state, after that, after the semifinal was on, everyone's made it to state. So anyway, with that. We'll be back next week. We don't know what day. Depends on when Mr. Falcons, our great and fearless IHSAA leader, releases the brackets. If you want, Price, send him flowers, send him barbecue. Send him stuff to IHSAA headquarters to smooth talk him, to make sure it's from wrestling fans, wrestling people. Maybe I'll send him some, I don't know, some chocolates, something. Hopefully we can get brackets at a reasonable time, maybe Sunday night, and then we can all go through them live online. So that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Robert Falcons.
Yes.
He's my boy.
Mr. Buchanan, we have tried to change it. The IHSAA does not like wrestlebacks for some odd reason, and they pretty much laugh at the Coaches Association when they try to propose them every 2 years. So we have to pause it for a while and then propose it when we have a good, solid argument. So with that, Mike, any last parting words of wisdom and or thoughts? And no. I cannot find the picture of the scary.
I want to see someone tweet it. I want to see someone tweet it from there Saturday.
Yes.
To the Indiana. We got all the sectional champions getting retweeted. Let's get that.
Yes. Now the thing's like 10 feet tall. It is huge. Yeah, it's crazy. Out the. Yeah. Come on, my friends in Jay County. Dane will tweet it. Dane will tweet it. I know
he will.
He probably has pictures of it. So yeah, we're gonna have to tweet that out once we get it, because it is scary, and I think comes alive at night. I swear. I promise. So so any parting words of wisdom before we go?
I do not have any. Just excited. This is an exciting time of year, week to week. The bracket thing has been crazy this year. I mean, obviously this is the easiest one to pair, but holding them, like, I know that's not something they do in other sports, which I find to be ridiculous. And hopefully they do the state finals bracket release again with Mike Gable.
Yeah, I believe they are planning on doing that, which that's fine. I'll wait for that. I understand that. I don't understand why regional has to be held up when I could put them all together in about 5 minutes. So, and the formula is pretty easy. It's 1A versus 4B, 2B versus 3A, and then switch it on the other side. 1B versus 4A, and then 2A versus 3B. So if you guys are writing that down at home, it's pretty simple. So with that, we're going to be back next week sometime. We'll keep you updated on the board and Twitter and all that fun stuff of when we'll be on. Depends on when those brackets come out, and we can analyze them. And if they come out Sunday night, maybe we'll do a live one on the spot. Mike and Joe looking at the brackets and me crapping my pants and being like, oh, yay, or oh, crap. So
yeah, I agree with Coach Watkins. Stay warm this week. It's supposed to be ridiculous. I don't know, is it going to be like that across the whole state, but it's going to be ridiculous in the region.
Yeah, it's going to be that way over this way, so stay warm, burn some wood or whatever, burn some old brackets, whatever it was, stay warm. Just make sure everyone stays healthy, and hopefully we have a great week wrestling on Saturday, and hopefully nothing gets canceled, or then that pushes our regional bracket or semi-state brackets back, and then I get really upset. So everyone have a good week. We'll talk to you later.
See ya.